Hello everyone and welcome to another video of VChess. What do you play on the first move? Do you play e4? And do you go for the Italian game? Do you play the Scotch? Do you play the Ponziani, as master ranked players have said? Do you play the Vienna game? Oh. Do you play the Vienna game? Vienna Gambit? Like Gotham Chess famously says? Do you go for d4? Do you play your classical Queen's Gambit? Do you play c4 feeling sophisticated? And do you go for the kingside fianchetto, bringing the knight, and going b3, bishop b2? Well, today I'm going to be showing you a completely different opening. And that's the move, pawn f4. This looks really weird. So, some of you might be thinking straight away, doesn't that allow the queen to check on h4 once the pawn has moved to e6, right? Okay, let's look at that. Knight to f3 played. No, not knight to f3, sorry. Let's say white just completely ignores that and goes for d3. Okay. If queen h4 check, you have g3. Now the queen has to retreat or end up on a passive square. Now you have bishop g2, and look at this diagonal. You already have a piece developed. You're ready to bring this knight to f3. You're ready to bring this knight to d2 or c3. Then you're ready to castle. Then you're ready to go e4. Meanwhile, black just sits there passively, and their only hope is to go d5. You could even go c4 and counterattack, with the idea of opening up this diagonal even more. Sorry, that was a lot of Paris. So yes, that doesn't really work. But anyway, now we'll go into the main replies. So the most common move by far from black will be d5. So the idea for this opening will be to go knight to f3, e3, bishop b5, b3, bishop b2, d3, and knight bd2. Okay, that looks confusing. Alright. I know, I've just drawn arrows and it wouldn't make sense. I know, even I don't get it. Okay. Anyway, so c5 is the most common move, so it's as if you're playing so black feels like, because you'd be playing as white, since you're playing such an unorthodox opening, not actually, they're thinking, oh, I'll occupy the full center and then I'll get a good advantage. I mean, the computer agrees with them very slightly, but as you'll see, it won't be the case. So e3, knight c6 by far the best move. Not the best move. Knight to f6 is the best move. Because after knight c6, there's bishop b5, and now the threat is that if black plays a random move such as h6, now there's bishop takes c6, b takes c6, and these pawns are very weak, especially this pawn on c5. This pawn on c5 is incredibly weak, and it can already be, and also this pawn on c6, you can already attack it with knight to e5, but to be honest, castles is better, or b3. And anyway, so most people won't go h6 though. They'll be going bishop d7. And I wouldn't advise you to take, which most people are doing. I'm gonna advise you to play b3. As you can see, that is the move which wins the most. And now people are just going a6. Now you should take, because they've wasted a tempo getting you to take. Takes. And a lot of people will be taking with the bishop. If they do go b takes c6, again, that's just ruining their structure, and why would they waste a tempo just to ruin their structure? Actually, they would have been wasting 1 and 2 tempos together with structure ruined. So people will go bishop takes c6, and now go knight to e5, because now you're attacking this bishop, and again, if they go for something random, they have a ruined structure again, and this is really good for you. But most people will be going queen to c7, and now going bishop b2 is best. And now most common move is knight to f6, and already you can see you've got the advantage back. Now I would recommend castling. e6 is most common, and usually I think they would follow up with bishop d6. Now go d3, and you'll be going knight d2 next. Yes, bishop d6, and go knight d2. The thing is, if they do take here, bishop takes, you have f takes e5, the knight has to come back, and now you just, this pawn is, you can just gang up on this pawn. It's very weak, and you have no weaknesses in your position, or at least weaknesses which they can't get to, because their pieces are so passively placed. Look at this, they just stuck behind this wall of, they're just stuck. And then look at your pieces. They're just freely roaming everywhere. So it's really good for you. So most people won't take. They'll just castle. And now this is where the fun happens. You should take the bishop on c6. Remember, this is the really important move. You need to take on c6. Queen takes c6 is most common. And now you just go bishop takes f6 and g takes f6. And now you can just sort out the game for yourself. So what you need to do now is attack with queen to h5 with your ideas of rook f3 and rook g3. Let me just show an example. People will go king h8 a lot. So now you have to go rook f3, and now as you can see it's +4. People will go rook g8 and they just don't care. They're fine with losing a pawn. And now people will go rook af8. And you have to go queen takes e6. Again, they just don't mind at this point. They're just getting scared. Now d4. And now you have to go e4 or knight to e4. I would recommend knight to e4. D takes e3. And there aren't many games played from now on. But being a piece up and having such a weak king, I think this is safe. It's safe to say that you can convert this. Okay. So now let's go back to this position. There is a mistake here which is played a lot, and I've played this in tournament as black. Yes, and I lost this. As black, I played bishop to g4 here. But the problem is now that h3 just deems this bishop completely useless. Because now if you go back to d7, it does say equal for on the computer, but it's really not. Because now if you go bishop h5, g4, bishop g6, f5, that bishop is just trapped. You win a piece in 7 moves. This is why you should play this opening. It's so good. So I naturally took, because going back was just, I felt was a waste of time. So I captured, and then queen takes, followed by knight to f6. And now they could play bishop takes, b takes, and now white just has a comfortable advantage. b3, e6, bishop b2, bishop d6, and now all you have to do is play knight d2, rook e8, need to castle. You can even go g4 as well, because the idea is that the knight, usually knights are best blockaders. I'll just show an example. Say black goes queen c7. You can go g5, and the knight usually can blockade here, because there wouldn't be anything stopping it. But the queen here is just patrolling every diagonal. So this is really good. And then the knight can come back to d7. And then you have the idea of h4. Which hasn't been played much. But anyway. There is also another variation. Which people lower rated tend to play. So I'll just close down the 2000 section. And now, as you can see, the knight c6 is played quite often. Now you just go e3, and now you'll see bishop g4 played. And as you know, don't play bishop c4. Play bishop b5, and as you can remember, people will also go a6. And as you know, you just go h3 here, and they have to take. Then you castle, go b3, bishop b2. Remember, this diagonal will be really important because black usually castles that side. And then you bring this knight up, and then you can go g4, g5, and h4 attacking, and you can go rook f3. Remember this idea of once you've castled, you can go rook f3. Obviously, once the queen has moved somewhere else to attack. This f file can also be opened, which can be really good. So this variation for white is actually much better because the pawns will be even weaker now. Okay, well, so now you know the most common move. Just an example, in case they play things like e6, I would just go for the same setup which you're going for. d5 will basically transpose into the same thing. If they go for things like b6, I'll just ignore them. Just go for your e3, bishop b7. Remember, you can't go bishop b5 because the knight hasn't been developed, and now the knight would be protected. So, say, just ignore this. Say knight went to c6. If you took, the bishop would take back, and it wouldn't be as good as it used to be because there wouldn't be a threat of double pawns. So here you could just go b3, and remember bishop b2, d3, knight d, b3, bishop b2, d3, knight d2, and instead of bringing the bishop out here, you can just bring the bishop here. So I'll just show. The most common move here is knight to f6, bishop b2. People will be going bishop b7. You can also go bishop e2, castles, then d3. There are some moves which give. The computer likes to say that white has an black has an advantage, but it's not really that true. And knight g4 here is actually the best move because this pawn would be undefended. But as you can see, most people will just play knight bd7. I'm gonna castle. Oh, sorry. Do not castle here. That's a bad move. Play knight to e5 and just. Yeah. Safe to say that you will get an advantage. Just remember, it's not just the opening. Think about tactics because this is quite an aggressive opening. Now let me quickly show something which. So this is called the From's Gambit, and it looks like those silly gambits such as the Halibu Gambit or the Chinese Gambit or the Alessi Gambit. It looks very silly, but it's not actually, because once you take. You do have the substantial advantage of another pawn, but now your opponents will try and take advantage of this weakened diagonal and go d6. And if you go into the master database, they go takes and takes, and you have to go knight to f3 here. And the most common move in both databases is g5. Now. Why did you see this come down? Tactics? That's right, bishop g3 checkmate. You have to watch out for this. g3, g4, and now don't go knight d4. You need to go knight to h4. You can go knight d4, but knight d4 doesn't really get much of an advantage. You need to try and blockade these pawns. Because if you go knight d4, h5, this is a way that things can end very quickly. e4 and then h4. By taking here, the queen is just allowed in, and then king e2, and this is catastrophic, can we say. So remember, knight to h4 here. You'll be trying to go knight to f5 in the future. I would say bishop g2, castle, and then knight to f5, e3, try and win that pawn back, or you can actually go for c4, queen b3, and just get this weakness on f7. This is really important. I'll keep changing the color of it because I like to. Okay. I think that's it. Remember, if they do go c5, just remember about transpositions. So when you come knight to f3, knight c6, I would recommend going e3. Just keep this system going. As white, don't go bishop e2. But they say no, that's too passive. Come on, go bishop b5. and you can see D5 here loads, and already you've gained computer equality, which is, you know, +1 for humans. So I hope you enjoyed this video. It was really fun. It was really fun making it, and I've played quite a few games with this since I lost to it in a tournament I've played, and it's great fun. So I hope you enjoyed. Yeah, VHS out.